if mental health and physical health are supposed to be treated equally, then I think there's a downside to this. People have been saying for a long time that we need to remove the stigma of mental health and treat it more like physical health. You wouldn't judge somebody for having, a headache or for catching a cold. So why would you judge someone for their mental health issues? No, I absolutely agree. It's absolutely true. The downside of lately I've been noticing in my personal life, in my online life, everybody is, many people generalize. Many people are getting very obsessive about mental health issues. Everything is a diagnosis now. Everything is labeled. Every little quirk a person might have is now labeled as some sort of a disorder. Now, it's good that we understand this stuff better, and it's good if it helps us to be kinder to each other. Lots of upsides to this. I'm concerned about this sort of hypochondria, though. Like every little idiosyncrasy is now a symptom of an ailment, of a disease? No, I don't think so. There's also a school of thought that doesn't get as much attention as I believe it should, and that is that being healthy should be natural. It should be your natural state. It's our default. Being healthy should be our default. We should expect it. And if we're not healthy, then we find out why and we fix it. But we should assume that our default position is health and well-being. I don't think a lot of us consider that as our default position anymore. And now that mental health and physical health are finding equal footing, again, as they should, I think this unhealthy attitude about the normal state is creeping into our attitudes about mental health. I mean, everybody can't be defective. Everybody can't have ADHD. Everybody can't be neurodivergent. Everybody can't be narcissistic or an extrovert or an introvert or all these labels. My God. It's great that we understand them, but the mindset is what I'm concerned about. The mindset of treating everybody like they need to be diagnosed. I really just wish we could accept each other for who we are. I think all of us have our own quirks, our own issues, our own idiosyncrasies, and I don't think they all have to be labeled as a diagnosis, as a disease. I just really wish, in the words of the philosopher, we could all just get along, have some patience with each other, have some understanding for each other. And the more that mental health issues are brought out into the open, that's a good thing. It helps us to understand each other better. I'm concerned about the downside where all of us consider ourselves patients. We have to go get treatment of some kind. This sort of obsession with diagnosing and labeling. I heard one woman talking on a panel show or something. I forget where I heard her. She said in her dating life, one of her first questions to a potential mate is, are you in therapy? Are you actively engaged in self-discovery? And for her, that's a green flag to pursue a relationship. That person has to be actively pursuing therapy. And it's a red flag if they're not. She eliminates men who aren't in therapy. I don't know. I don't know.
You know what else happens with this whole kind of emphasis on wellness and well-being, and it gets kind of spiritual at times. It's not just mental health, but it's spiritual health. It all kind of gloms into each other. People have very strong opinions. Oh my goodness. The Dunning-Kruger effect in this area is just through the roof. People have very strong opinions with very little information. Or, I shouldn't say little information, because they've got tons of anecdotal information. They've got lots and lots of people. They're surrounded in their social media feeds with people who just are convinced they know the absolute truth about things. So we're overstimulated with information, but there's very little way of knowing which information is good or bad or reliable or just pulled right out of someone's butt crack, which a lot of it is. So
Yeah, speaking of self-appointed gurus, like you just were, right? That's what I call them. Self-appointed gurus. That's the funny thing. Often they are right. I mean, they'd have to be. They talk so much, they're going to, the broken clock is right twice a day kind of thing, right? So sure, they're going to be right. And plus, they speak in such vague terms, and they're so derivative of other ideas that, yeah, they're going to hit it right once in a while. But it's just, it's like throwing darts. It's hit and miss. They're right by accident, and they're wrong just because they don't know what they're talking about. And These are very deep issues. Issues of psychology, of spirituality, of philosophy. Thousands and thousands and thousands of years of human history. And the greatest minds have tackled these issues. And this Yahoo in your book club thinks she's got all the answers. Self-appointed gurus are the worst. They're the absolute worst. Even when they're right, it's for the wrong reason. They're either lucky or they steal it from somebody else. I don't know. I mean, call me old-fashioned, but I respect actual scholars and actual artists, people who spend their lives exploring these things, and people with a little humility. And that's the thing about scholars and artists. Scholars use the scientific method, and they are very happy to be proven wrong if they are wrong. If they're a good scholar, if they're a good academic, they're very happy to be peer-reviewed. Artists have another way at it. They, at the outset, and I'm generalizing a little bit here, but generally, a good artist will have some kind of point of view, but won't pretend to know things. They write their songs, or they paint their paintings, or they dance their dance, and they know it's coming from a feeling. They know it's coming from somewhere deep. They don't exactly know. They don't pretend to know. They don't preach at you. They give you their point of view. They put it in their art, and it is what it is. A lot of them, many of them, will leave room for the audience participation in their own interpretation, right? Audience interpretation of the artwork is something very common in the art world, and that speaks well of the artist. So a good artist will know how to treat their subject matter and their audience. A good academic or scholar will know how to treat their subject matter and their audience. These are people I respect and I seek out, as opposed to know-it-all, self-appointed gurus, whether they're on TikTok or on cable television or sitting around the campfire with you and your friends. I absolutely abhor arrogant amateurs.
It's a whole thing now. You know, it's being an influencer, or a mom-fluencer, or a dad-fluencer, kid-fluencer. What kind of fluencer do you want to be? It's become a very strange world where many, many years ago, a couple generations ago, you ask a kid what they want to be. Oh, I want to be a quarterback in the NFL. I want to be a football player. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a fireman. I want to be, people wanted to be something. Oh, I want to be an actor in the Hollywood movies. Whether it was realistic or not, or I want to be a mom. I want to be a dad. I want to, whatever their parent did. Or I want to be a teacher. They wanted to be something. And then, a couple of decades ago, you started hearing a different answer from kids. What do you want to be? I want to be famous. What? What? Huh? It's not what do you want to do. It's what they want to. They want to be famous, or they want to be rich. I want to be rich and famous. And now, it's taken yet another weird turn, where they want to be TikTok stars or YouTube stars. They want to be influencers. Now, this is the strangest thing. I'm going to confess something to you. You're listening to me right now, either on radio, like regular old-fashioned over-the-air radio, or more than likely you're listening to me on the podcast version of this program, right? Okay. Many, many years ago, decades ago now, I studied for this in college. I studied radio, I studied broadcasting, I studied communications. It was my goal. I really liked radio, more than television. I just liked the one voice in the one ear kind of thing, a one-to-one communication. Me, the speaker, you, the listener. I'm directly going to you. I think it's a beautiful way of communicating. I love radio, and I loved old-time radio. I love current radio. I love the radio I grew up with, and I actually studied it. And I also studied philosophy because I figured if I wanted to talk on the radio, if I wanted to make things interesting or important, or if not important, at least relevant, or to have some kind of a quality to it, I should have some idea what I'm talking about. I should give it some thought. So by the time it was all said and done, I had degrees in philosophy, in communications, in education, and in creative art. And in my creative art, it was an interdisciplinary graduate degree program, and I aimed it toward what I'm doing exactly right now, talking on the radio. So, I tell you all this because it's very strange to me
that something that I dreamed of as a very young man, and I pursued in both my education and then in my career, is something now that everybody does from their bedroom. It's kind of weird. And, gonna be totally honest with you, some of the stuff these people do in their bedrooms is damn good. It's really good. It's funny, it's creative, it's smart, and I get a little jealous. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you right now. I get a little bit jealous. There's something that I dreamed of doing as a kid and pursued. These people are doing way better than I ever did, and that I'm doing currently. Now, on the other hand, that's maybe, I don't know, 5%, whereas the other 95% is total garbage. What people are doing, I don't know exactly how I would scale these numbers exactly. But there's some people doing wonderful, great stuff. There are a whole lot of people doing total crap. But the idea that kids want to be influencers, they just want, why? Did they want the power? I think it's mostly the fame and the money thing. I don't know. It's a funny kind of a thing.
There's one other issue here that needs to be addressed, I believe, and that is that you were talking about self-appointed gurus earlier. I would include in that category maybe a subcategory, and these are kind of wannabe experts, and they insert themselves into another profession. Well, here's an example. Remember a little while ago that there was a judge in Alabama Supreme Court, who invoked the wrath of God into his written opinion regarding abortion. Now, this is a judge. It wasn't a preacher. It was a judge. So he wanted to insert himself into the profession of preacher or theologian. And we see this very, very often. Someone who's an expert in one field will pretend or think because they have a degree in one field that they are experts in another field. Who was that guy back in Republican politics a few years ago? He was a brain surgeon. He ran for president, and he was a real goofball. He had the goofiest ideas about politics, but he was a brain surgeon. We find this a lot.
There's another category that I would add to this, and this is the person, they kind of brag about themselves. I'm strong. I'm honest. I'll support my friends to the end. I'll defeat my enemies. I don't take any crap from anybody. Right? You know people who talk about themselves like this? Very positive attitudes. Very healthy self-esteem. I knew one person who referred to themselves as an empath. Oh, I'm an empath. And I know that everyone has their own story. But that same person would say, but I'm tough, you better not cross me. I love unconditionally, but you better not cross me. You don't want to be my enemy. You know people like this? I don't know what is going on with people like this. Are they searching? Are they secretly insecure? To be so sure of themselves and then to be so sort of contradictory? I never judge anybody. I understand everybody has their own story. I'm an empath, but don't cross me. I'm going to be your worst enemy if you cross me. You know what I'm talking about. You've known people like this. They're also very quick to latch on to trendy opinions. They're the kinds that'll say, oh, of course, God isn't a man with a big white beard who lives in the sky, but Jesus was an enlightened teacher, like the Dalai Lama. And they might believe in karma and reincarnation and affirmations and, oh, you get lessons from the universe. They have just so many opinions about this stuff. And I'm going to give you one more little angle on this as well. Have you noticed how right-wing it can be? We've seen in recent years the so-called wellness community, people who are into yoga and nutrition and all that, getting very sort of libertarian right-wingy. It's an interesting combination. They're the first ones to say something like, life is not fair. Nobody ever said life was fair. You make your own happiness because your thoughts create reality. These are very sort of right-wing. In the traditional right versus left wing, the left wing will have a bit of a more Marxist attitude, saying, well, no, society has a great bearing on the condition of your life, and it's not just you, and you don't just create reality. You have an impact for sure, but reality happens around you, and there are great institutions that have a great impact on your life. And the bombs dropping on the kid in Syria are real. They're not part of his imagination. This little 8-year-old boy in Syria can't just have a positive attitude. So, yeah, there's a right-wing kind of fascist trend here happening among these kind of wackadoodle people who are very quick and happy to give you their advice. And many of them will very staunchly defend their position as being independent, free-thinking. I don't vote for the party, I vote for the person. They're very quick to say, oh, both sides are equally guilty. Both sides have crazy fringes, and the best politics are always somewhere in the middle. Everyone should just get along. Well, you're going to find, if you just listen to them, let them talk for a little while, they're going to reveal themselves as pretty damn right-wing. Anybody who says, oh, everybody should just get along, both sides are equally to blame, don't argue with them. Don't stop them. Let them just keep going, because they're just going to drift and drift until you're going to hear pretty clearly what they really want. I just want to be left alone to do my own thing. Well, that sounds pretty libertarian. That sounds a little right-wing to me. Laissez-faire. Capitalists. These people reveal themselves as to who they are. And they're very comfortable combining their right-wing politics with their kind of goofy, new age, Dalai Lama stuff. By the way, the Dalai Lama can fuck himself. Go write Hallmark cards already. Do not like the Dalai Lama, fuck the Dalai Lama.
And these same people, they just have to be so freaking positive. I hate positive people. Positive people uphold the status quo. The most bigoted people you're ever going to find are the ones who claim to be the most open. Oh, I don't see race. And, I don't care if you want to be gay. Do whatever you want. Just don't force it down my throat. Everybody should just be happy. Do your own thing.
This is a philosophy that sounds really good. It makes a lot of sense if you don't dig too hard, too deep. Because when they say don't force it down my throat, what they're really saying is I don't want to see it. And the privilege that I have, I want to keep.
But the just be happy advice, there again, in and of itself, that is very individualistic. I saw a great cartoon recently. On either side of the road, there were masses of people protesting. And on one side, on their picket signs there, and their protest signs, they all said, me. They're fighting for themselves, for their rights. But on the other side of the road was the we people. They had on their signs, we. And I think that's the fundamental divide. There are two kinds of people in this world. There's the me people and the we people. People who think about me and my rights. And then the others who think about we, think about us and our rights. And sometimes things that are good for me personally aren't necessarily lining up to be good for everyone else. And that concerns me, and I'm concerned with justice for everyone, not just for me. Because I know that sometimes my rights will be in conflict with other people's rights, and that has to be recognized. So, yeah, the just be happy thing, that is inherently individualistic, which is inherently sort of right-wing fascist if you take it too far, and it upholds the status quo. Imagine if Martin Luther King Jr., as a young man, expressed interest in social justice and working towards social justice, and he got some advice from his peers and from his elders to, oh, no, just be happy. Your only job in life is to be happy and to find inner happiness. You can't change other people. The best and only way to affect change in the world is to be happy in your own life. Just be happy, Martin Luther King Jr. Can you imagine if he'd taken that advice?
I have a dream.
New Age types think they can put their thoughts into the universe. Okay, fine. Do that. Put your thoughts into the universe. Make the universe a better place.
But then many of them will just dismiss political activism. If you can change the world with your thoughts, well, can't you also change the world with your actions? And maybe you think you ought to do both, maybe. And if you have to choose one over the other, I think I would choose action over thoughts. I think it'll make more of a difference. I mean, I'd rather have a cranky son of a bitch who genuinely worked for social justice than some kind, happy soul who doesn't do shit except love people in their own little bubble. Loving the people in your bubble is not a bad thing to do, but if you think that'll do jack for social justice, you're wrong. You're just wrong-headed. You're just rationalizing. You're delusional. There can be very happy people in an unjust world. Believe me. We're living in that kind of world right now. There are plenty of people just, fat and happy, living in their bubbles. And they say, well, really the only thing I can do is to be happy in my own world and to love my family and my neighbors. Be a good person. There's really nothing more I can do. Hell yeah, there's more you can do. If you've decided that some people are just going to have to suffer in poverty and violence, and that's just how the world works, and you're okay with that, well, I don't even know what to say to you. Or even worse, if you think it's their fault, if you think people who live in poverty and suffer violence and war, if somehow you think it's their fault because they don't work hard enough, or maybe it's just karma, well then I don't have really any interest in debating you at all. I don't have any interest in debating with you about that. And I'm certainly not going to compromise with you. Okay, well, all right, well, we'll see if we can get it down from 32,000 deaths to, let's cut that in half, only 16,000 deaths. So then I guess we won't call it a genocide anymore if it goes from 32 to 16,000. How's that? No, I'm not going to compromise with you. This is not a difference of politics. This is a basic difference of morality. I disagree entirely with you. You are wrong. You are wrong. This is not politics. This is morality. Basic, fundamental human right and wrong.
I have a dream. One day.
And the whole me-we divide, it just seems to be getting worse. Sometimes interests clash. You gotta think of everybody. You can't just think of yourselves. I've heard so many left-wingers, or no, let me correct myself. I've heard so many people who self-identify as liberal or of the left or in the Democratic Party. They label themselves as liberal, and yet they think exactly in these terms. In a recent presidential election, I heard the candidate himself and high-level surrogates of the candidate talk in these very terms. Are you better off? Which candidate works for you and your family? I don't give a shit if he works for me and my family, especially if I'm doing well. Why should I just think about how he feels about me and my family? I worry about how he feels about that kid in Syria. Good Lord Almighty, why are we so selfish? It's easy to believe, air quotes, believe in social justice. You know, you think you're all high and mighty because you watch Jon Stewart on The Daily Show and you're on the right side, you know, you're on the right team. Well, it's easy to believe in social justice, but that's only the first little baby step. The next step is you have to recognize the fundamental and revolutionary changes that are required to achieve that social justice. Social justice ain't going to happen for anybody just because you believe in it. You got to say, yeah, it's going to require some actual change. The world can't just stay the same and the people in it somehow get better. It ain't going to happen. The world has to change. The way we do things has to change. And then you have to embrace that revolutionary spirit in your own life, and if you want to, if you need to, in your spiritual life, in your psychic life, all well and good, not going to criticize. If you feel you need to take that step, go ahead. But it better well damn happen in your practical life. The way you live, the way you choose to live your life, whether or not you own a car, the kind of job you have, the kind of company you choose to work for. And I know it's hard. Many people don't have the choices they ought to have. I ain't saying it's easy, never said it was easy. What I'm saying right now is you got to at least acknowledge that there needs to be fundamental revolutionary change. You're either a revolutionary or you're part of the problem. That's the deal. And then once you've accepted that, then you got to live your life accordingly. And let's take it one or two more steps, because the next step then is advocacy. You got to talk about it. You don't just do it, you talk about it, you advocate. And then direct action. You participate to the very best of your ability. You align your life with your values. And if you can, you take direct action. You take to the streets. You organize. That's the last and final step. Some people can't do all of this. Some people are old. Some people are weak. Some people are dumb. But you got to do it. And it really boils down to the me versus the we. Are you a me person or a we person? If you're a me person, you know, you and I are just done. I can't convince you. You got to be a we person. And all of our little distractions, from the mental health hypochondriacs to the self-appointed gurus with too much confidence, to the wannabe influencers and social gurus, the unsolicited advice from people who think too much of themselves. I think there's an epidemic of self-confidence out there. Because that kind of thinking really, really sucks you into the right wing without you knowing it. I've seen it happen. Oh, I've seen it happen. It'll suck you right in. When all of a sudden you're talking about, oh, let's just be positive and world's not fair, you make your own reality, let's pull yourself up by your own spiritual bootstraps, right-wing BS. And now all of a sudden you're a right-winger and you don't even know how that happened. You better get right. You got to find yourself. And if you really claim to be someone who believes in we, someone who believes in social justice, you better check your privilege. You better check the way you live your life. You better check your attitudes about the revolution. And then if you decide after all of that self-examination that you want to stay where you are, well, go ahead, stay where you are, but at least take responsibility for it. But if you agree with me and find that yes, you have taken that pill and you've become, to your great horror, a member of the right wing, that weird sort of underground right wing that happened to you when you weren't even looking. The right wing has infiltrated, and fascism has infiltrated, and this attitude about, oh, I'm just doing my best and I love everyone, and yet the world continues to spin the way it does, with all these millions and millions of people suffering every damn night and kids going hungry. You need to do what you need to do to rationalize and be able to put your head on your pillow and sleep at night without, losing it. I guess you're doing what you need to do, but if you have the strength to join me, man, I wish you would.